Longer than you.
You're already laughing at me, my lord.
Yeah.
I also feel sorry for myself.
Okay.
Yes. My lord, at the beginning, I promised that while not compromising the efficacy of the case of my client, I will try to be also mindful not to detain the court unlawfully long. I will try to be brief, precise, and to the point. I've had the benefit of watching my learned friend cross-examine the witness. I'll try to make my questions specific, simple, so that he can be able to answer them. Mr. Kajangela, good day.
Yes, good day.
How are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
I am good. I'm going to ask you a fair number of questions. I'll make sure that my questions are put as easily as possible so that you can understand and think on the spot and then respond to them. If I ask you a question that you don't think is clear enough, please do not hesitate to let me know. I'll either rephrase or repeat the question. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand, my lord.
If you do not know the answer, please do not hesitate to point out to the court that you do not know the answer. Is that okay?
Understand?
All right. My client is Mr. Mike Ngepunya. You will know that he's applicant number 4 in this bail application.
That's correct.
He is a major male who is not married and who is 37 years of age. Is that correct, or you would not be able to dispute that?
I'm not disputing that.
He is a Namibian national. Is that correct from your investigations? He was born on 20th of July, 1984, at a place called Oshilungi.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Prior to his arrest, he was residing at a place called Erf number 171, Ichabwe Street, Rocky Crest, Windhoek, Republic of Namibia. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
He also has a mother that lives in the northern part of Namibia, at a place called Ohakaunde, Omotia, Oshikoto region, Namibia. Is that correct?
I just hear it now, yes?
Yes.
No, it's not dispute that.
Yes, this is the address that he testified that in the event that he has to go to the north, this is the address where he will go when he visits the north, should he be given bail by the Honorable Court.
I'm not disputing that.
Yes. He also testified that at the time of his arrest, he was the suspended chief executive officer of a state-owned company or entity called the National Fishing Corporation, which in our engagement with you, we will refer it as Fishco, and that when he was still employed in Luderitz, his address was number 10, Austin Street, Luderitz, and this was the property of the company, Fishco.
That's correct.
Would that be correct? He also testified that he was arrested on 17th of February, 2020.
That's correct.
But maybe before we get there, he testified that he is applying for bail in this application. We have heard your stance towards the bail being granted, where you said you are opposing it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
He then said, should the Honorable Court, after this inquiry, be of the view that he be granted bail, he requested a few of these conditions. I understand your stance that you're opposing bail, but of course I still have to give you the opportunity to know what my client's proposed conditions are. He proposed that he be ordered to report himself to Ojomoise police station every Monday and Friday between the hours 7 o'clock in the morning and 7 p.m. in the evening. Do you observe that?
Come again?
Did you hear and understand that condition that I...
Yes, I understand.
All right. He also proposed that he be ordered not to leave the district of Windhoek without the knowledge of the investigating officer or any such other designated police officer.
Yes, I understand that.
He also sought to propose that he be ordered to surrender his traveling documents. I understand this to be a passport to the investigating officer in this matter, and further be prohibited from applying for any other travel document pending the finalization of the criminal proceedings.
Yes, I understand his proposal.
Yes. He also sought to be ordered not to interfere with the police investigation and or the witnesses of the state in this matter.
Yes, I understand.
He also proposed that he be ordered to deposit an amount of 250,000 Namibian dollars as a bail deposit, and this be benchmarked against his assets together with such personal circumstances, which the court may also stipulate
Yes,
as it deems
the
appropriate.
proposal.
These are the conditions that he also sought the following: that he be given such other and further practically reasonable conditions that the Honorable Court in its discretion may deem appropriate. He sought that the above referenced proposed bail conditions are more than sufficient and appropriate to alleviate the state's grounds of opposition for him being granted bail. Do you have any comment?
I understand the proposals.
All right. He testified here that during November of 2019, he had traveled to a country called Japan and to its capital city called Tokyo, when the news of the Fishrot, the so-called Fishrot scandal and the impending arrest of all the applicants in this matter and some of the other applicants came to the public knowledge. He became aware of this information while he was in Tokyo, Japan. You would not be in a position to dispute that, is that correct?
I'm not in position to dispute that.
Yes. He also confirmed that he then became aware that he would also be arrested together with the other accused in this matter during that time when he was in Tokyo.
Yes.
He, despite being aware of this information when he was thousands of kilometers away from Namibia, he still took the decision to come back home to Namibia. He did not abscond and he did not run away. He decided to come back home. That's what he testified.
Yes, that is his statement, yes.
Yes. He also testified that after his arrival here in Namibia, due to the rumors that he was hearing from several sources that he was going to be arrested, he actually went to engage legal representatives, and they contacted the office of the ACC in order for him to hand himself over for arrest. You would also not be able to dispute that.
I will not dispute that, but I know that before his engagement with the legal practitioners, there were officers who were departed to Lideris in order to go and see him and give explanation on the allegations being made against him. But when they went there, he indicated to them that he was in the north.
Yes. All right. We will come to that because it's also one of the factors that I would like to take into consideration with you. And thank you for bringing it up anyway. He also testified before the court here that he was informed by the investigating officers of the ACC at that time that they had no intention of arresting him at that time. So they did not want him to hand himself over at that time. Is that correct? We'll come to the issue of the Luderitz and the visit to Luderitz because it's also important, as we have raised it.
Yes, what I will say is that his engagement with the legal representative, with the ACC officials, I know they were engaging one another with Mr. Olifi and Mr. Klute, and I don't know whether there was an agreement of saying they are not going to arrest him or he must hand himself over.
Yeah, let me clarify because maybe you misunderstood my question. They did not say to him they have no intention of arresting him. They said they were not having intentions of arresting him at that time. Do you understand the difference?
I understand the difference. If it was said, I'm not aware of that.
All right. But you wouldn't dispute it as well?
I can also not dispute that.
Because as you have said, he was dealing predominantly with Mr. Olifir and Mr. Klute. Is that correct?
That's correct.
He also testified that he subsequently traveled to the northern part of Namibia, especially to this area that we discussed earlier, in the Motia region.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He testified that while he was there, he actually received a phone call from one of the investigators of the ACC, where they had said, they informed him that they were in Luderitz, not for him to answer questions, but because they were looking for particular documents at the offices of Fishco and they were unable to locate the whereabouts of those documents.
Yes, but the reason for their departure to Luderitz was to get documentations and to obtain statements from whoever provides such documentations.
All right. But you wouldn't dispute that they actually called him when he was in the north, asking for the whereabouts of these documents?
I'm not disputing that.
All right. There could have been a reason for the ACC to visit, including taking witness statements, etc. But to him, they said they were visiting the offices of Fishco to obtain documents which they were unable to locate. And they actually asked him if he could assist them in clarifying where they could obtain those documents. You wouldn't be able to dispute that either.
I'm not disputing that. What I know is that, yes, they have communicated.
All right. In fact, although he was already suspended at that time by his employer, he was suspended, and that's why he was not at the offices of the Fishco. He was suspended at that time. He then made reasonable effort, communicated with the ACC officials where the documents that they were looking for purposes of their investigations were located and where they could be obtained. And in fact, he has reason to believe that they obtained those documents because they subsequently did not come back to him looking for more documents. You would not be able to dispute that either.
Yes, there were documentations obtained here.
Yes. Yes. I know that there were documents obtained, but you would not dispute that he actually came to their assistance as he testified before this honorable court.
I'm not disputing that.
All right. He also testified that they asked him, or he offered to make a statement to the ACC officials. They advised him that he should go, or they will make arrangements while he's still in the north. They will make arrangements for him to go to the local ACC office in the north. I believe it's in Oshakati. In Oshakati, for him to make a statement there. But they would come back to him to tell him as to when he could. He actually offered to make a statement if they so wished. You would not be able to dispute that either.
I'm not disputing whether there was such an arrangement.
Yes. But he testified to this court that they never called him back for purposes of him being able to then to go to the offices of the ACC for him to go and make that statement. As a result, he never made that statement. You would not be able to dispute that either.
I'm not disputing that.
All right. He then testified that he came back to Windhoek. He was on the way to Windhoek on the 14th of February 2020 when he received a phone call from one of the investigating officers at that time of the ACC, I believe is Mr. Olivier, that he should report himself over to the ACC. You would not be able to dispute that either.
I'm not disputing that, but what I am aware of is that there was a time when Mr. Mike Mpunya was in Windhoek, and Mr. Oliphant and Mr. Klote were supposed to meet him at his residential place. I think it's a flat somewhere in the side of Hilton. They went there. They could not locate him. He indicated that they are going to meet at one of the legal representative office, Mr. Kadira Momo. They went there. They could not find him, and it's when they were told Mr. Engelbrecht is the one who will be representing them.
All right. But you would not dispute that he communicated, he received a phone call on the 14th of February while he was on the way from the north.
I'm not disputing that.
Yes. He then also testified that on Monday, 17th February, he handed himself over to the offices of the ACC in the company of his legal representatives.
That's correct.
And where he was subsequently arrested and detained.
I'm not disputing that.
Yes. He also testified that during December preceding his arrest, December 2019, even fully aware that some of the co-accused he had already been arrested, he still had possession of his passport. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And to that end, he traveled. You know, there was no prohibition for him to travel both inside and outside of Namibia. Is that correct?
I did not confirm his travels.
Yes, but at least there was no prohibition insofar as you know.
Yes, there was no prohibition.
All right. He also testified that he traveled 3 times outside of the Republic of Namibia during that period. He traveled to Cape Town, a city in the Republic of South Africa, during December of 2019. Is that correct?
I'm not disputing that.
He also traveled to Johannesburg during that period.
I'm not disputing that.
He also traveled for the 3rd time to Zimbabwe, Harare, during that time. Is that correct? You cannot dispute that.
I'm not disputing that.
Yes. 2019, between December 2019 to January 2020, my lord. He also testified that he believes in Namibia's courts and their fairness. And that is why he wants to stand trial and be tried here in Namibia, because he believes that he has a good defense to the charges that have been placed before him.
Yes, that is what his belief.
Yes, and that is one of the reasons why he did not abscond from the Republic of Namibia or from the jurisdiction of the courts of Namibia, even though he was fully aware and he had multiple opportunities to do so if he wanted to do so.
Yeah, he did not abscond.
He testified that he is also not a flight risk, because really having looked at the charges, and he was here on the stand for many days, having looked at the charges and the evidence that or the intended evidence that the state will put forward, he believes that it's based on a misunderstanding which he can clear with the trial court, and he has no reason whatsoever to abscond.
To me, he's a flight risk.
He also testified that he has a certain amount of assets here in Namibia, which he listed as, I just want to, immovable property situated at ERF number 171, Ichambwe Street, Rocky Crest, Windhoek, Republic of Namibia, which at the last valuation was about 3 million Namibian dollars. And he also has 2 flats at Freedom Plaza, CBD, Independence Avenue, which are together valued at 5 million Namibian dollars.
I'm aware of the assets.
He also testified that he is a trustee of a trust called Wanyamba Investment Trust, and that you are aware that he's a trustee
Yes,
of the
I'm aware.
trust. He also stressed during his testimony in chief as well as during cross-examination that he is emotionally invested in Namibia and in no other country except Namibia. He has no relationships emotionally outside of Namibia except the ones that he has in this country. Is that correct?
I don't know whether I understand the statement well.
Emotionally, the people that he loves, the people that arouse his passions as a human being, his mothers, his siblings, his nieces, his friends, they are all in Namibia.
I'm not disputing that, but I know, and information is that he's having other friends in Angola with whom they are doing businesses.
Does doing business with somebody mean that you are friends with that person? Is that the thinking? Can you clarify that?
If you are in a joint venture, you can
It's
be
because
friends.
you are friends.
You can be friends.
All right. We'll come to, I will put that in economic attachment, not emotional attachment.
Okay.
Yes. So, unless if you tell me that he has a girlfriend, a
I'm not
boyfriend,
aware of any girlfriends.
anywhere, or a wife in that country, I mean, a mother elsewhere, a father elsewhere. So, Lord, I hear a lot of murmuring. So he says you can.
They can murmur, but I shouldn't hear them.
Yes, my Lord, please don't listen to them. But they
No,
are
I mustn't hear it.
as it pleases you, my Lord. So you wouldn't dispute that he is emotionally connected to this country.
I'm not disputing that.
Yes. He also testified that he is economically invested in Namibia. I mean, I have pointed to 3 immovable properties that we discussed earlier. Surely that should be proof that he's invested in this country.
Yeah, he also invested in Angola, as I just mentioned.
Yeah, we'll talk about Angola. Let's finish about Namibia first. He's invested in Namibia, is that correct?
Yes, he's correct.
All right. He also testified that there is a business venture. Business venture. Do you understand what a business venture is?
Yes, I understand.
All right. There is a business venture which, at the time of his arrest, he was trying to pursue in the Republic of Angola. He testified about that.
Yes.
So he is still not getting any economic benefit from that. He's exploring whether he can get economic benefit from that venture. Is that correct?
That is what he's alleging here.
Yes. So when you spoke about this business venture, you meant that one. We mean the same thing.
That is the same thing.
Yes, the mining venture in, to explore a mining possibilities and venture in Angola. All right. He also said he's socially invested in Namibia. Do we understand each other?
Yes, we understand each other.
Yes, that when he thinks of inviting people to parties, birthday parties, baptism parties, graduation parties, he thinks of people that are in Namibia. His friends, family and beloved ones are all in Namibia. So he's socially invested in Namibia. Is that correct? You wouldn't be able to dispute that.
I'm not disputing, but I just don't understand why he called it an investment.
All right, but he is socially invested in Namibia. That's what he said.
Yes, that's what he said.
All right. He says his immediate family and himself are Namibians through and through. They live in this country, they are Namibian citizens. They look nowhere else as their home except Namibia. Would that be correct?
I did not explore that, it could be correct.
Yes. So he says he has an honest and sincere intention and desire to build a life here in Namibia and to meaningfully contribute to the Namibian society. That is his version. I'm just giving you a chance to comment. All right.
That is his version, as we said.
Yes. He testified that he does not intend to travel outside of Namibia, due amongst others, that to the fact that all his travel documents are already, yes, they will be handed in if he's given bail, and the investigating officer can have access and control and possession of those documents. And also he is afraid to travel outside because of the current COVID situation around the world. This is what he testified.
Yes, that is his version, yeah.
All right. He testified that when he was arrested, one of the difficulties at that time, he had not had access to the nature of the charges against him, as well as the nature of the evidence potentially that the state would want to rely on in prosecution of the criminal case against him. Would that be correct?
As I said, I did not really involved in his arrest and in the charging.
Yes.
And I'm aware that there were warrant of arrest that were issued against the applicant. And to charge somebody in the process, there should be charges that had been put to him.
Okay.
He might be aware of the charges, if not all.
Okay. But the evidence against him that the state perhaps intended to produce, he was not aware of it. At least we can agree on that.
Yeah, by that time, the disclosure was not yet done.
Yes. So he was not aware of this evidence against him because you had not provided it to him, or the state had not provided it to him. Is that correct?
It was not provided at the time, yes.
All right. My client was arrested because of the decisions that took place around the implementation of the Marine Resources Act. Would that be correct?
Just correct.
You were not happy with the manner in which and the type of decisions that were taken by the people that were responsible for that part of the law. Is that correct?
Yes, we were not happy with that.
All right. When we talk about Marine Resources Act, we talk about the one of number 27 of 2000. That is correct?
That's correct.
All right. I don't know if you have a copy there. I know there is a copy in the big file, but I have an additional copy here, and then we can just go through some of the...
Big files. There are so many big files.
The biggest of them all. I don't know if you have a copy there.
Which file is it?
The Fishrot.
The Fisco file. You have a copy there. Not if you don't have a copy, I have an extra copy.
Sorry, let me just understand. Which one is the fish coffer?
Z, but I don't think it's in this. What we have is the State-Owned Enterprises Act and the other.
No, Exhibit Z. I don't think.
Yeah, my lord, it's an
it's
act,
not in
so
there.
it doesn't need to be an exhibit. Can I give you a copy? Or
Yeah.
yes, if I can give his lordship a copy. I also anticipated that maybe our learned friends would like to have the copies as well. Mr. Kanyangela, if you don't have a copy, I will give you mine.
Since
I don't want to waste your time.
There's no copy on this one.
I know you have a lot of very important things that you have to go and deal with. Right, but before we get there, if you can put it a little bit on the side. You testified that you rely on the decision of cabinet in order to check the extent of what is called governmental objectives. Would that be correct? If my question is not clear, please say so. I'll clarify it.
Yes, we rely on that one.
Yes. And according to your testimony, if I understood you correctly, governmental objectives are those ones that have been set out in the cabinet resolution that you refer to.
That's correct.
And nothing else. Can I find out from you, why do you have that understanding? And I mean, when I say you, I mean you together with the ACC. Why does the ACC, and including yourself, hold that strong understanding that government objectives are objectives only if they are set out in that cabinet resolution?
We have that based on the statement that had been obtained with regarding to government objectives,
Yes, let's
which confirm that those were the only two
that were approved by
that were
cabinet.
approved by cabinet.
So you are saying anything outside of these two in that cabinet resolution, they would, according to you, be unlawful. Is that correct?
It could not be unlawful if it has been done in consultation with the cabinet or with the cabinet approval.
Yeah, we will come to that. If I understand you correctly, you are saying the fundamental character of government objectives is that they are approved by the Cabinet of the Republic of Namibia. That is the state's case, and how we should understand all these documents that we are dealing with here.
That's correct.
You are saying if it's not approved by Cabinet, then it's not governmental objectives. Is that correct?
That is correct what I'm saying.
It means your understanding of the entire case and what was lawful was or not was guided or limited by these two objectives that are set out in that cabinet memorandum. Is that correct? Please, this is important. If you need time to think, I'll apply to the court to give you time to think, because it will advise everything that we have to do henceforth. Is that correct?
Can you just repeat the question again?
You are saying the manner in which you arrested, should I understand you that the manner in which you investigated this case, you arrested the accused in this case for not complying with governmental objectives, was guided by the two objectives that are in this cabinet action letter?
The arrest of the accused or the arrest of the applicant, it was based on the quotas that they give under government objective, whether approved or not. But what derived from those government objectives, or the money that was paid for those government objectives, the money was not used for government objectives, it was used to the beneficiary of those applicants. Hence, they were arrested.
Can I ask you just a simple question? You know the difference between a dog and a human?
Yes, I know.
All right. We'll come to the quotas and all this. I'm just trying to limit my question to one simple aspect. Your understanding of what is a governmental objective. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
All right. You relied on Exhibit Z9. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
Do you have Exhibit Z9 there in that state disclosure file? It's on page 29. Maybe this will make our work to flow a little bit.
Z9.
Yes, Exhibit Z9, my lord, page 29. The state disclosure.
Yes.
Mr. Gangel, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
You are saying government objectives or governmental objectives are limited to those mentioned in paragraph number 1 of that document. Is that your understanding of approved governmental objectives?
As per the application that was made to cabinet, yeah?
Yes. No, I don't want to. I want to understand what the ACC understanding of governmental objectives are. That's why I'm putting this question to you, because I'm giving you the opportunity to educate me, because I'm still a little bit unclear. Do you understand, Mr. Kayengela?
I understand.
So according to you, and perhaps the ACC, the governmental objectives are limited to Namibia fish consumption objectives. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And government trout relief programs. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Nothing else, nothing more.
As per the cabinet direct resolution.
Yes. So anything outside of those two, according to you, that were not proper and lawful governmental objectives?
I can say there are other government objectives which have to be carried out under the directives of the cabinet or under the directives of the government, which is a shareholder of Fishrot.
Yeah, but you see, when we talk about government, it can be very confusing because it's a very wide concept. I want to understand what informs you in the morning when you wake up. You testified about this cabinet resolution and you said all those that were mentioned under part, like additional resolutions. You see them on the next page, page 30. If you turn the page, you see that one there.
Yes, I see them.
You testified that all those that are mentioned there, they were not yet approved and hence they could not be implemented because there was, according to you, there was no cabinet committee on lands and social
Yes, that
issues.
was my testimony.
Yes, that was your testimony. So you still stand by that?
Yes.
All right. So, do you know what the Marine, or did you check the Marine Resources Act during your investigations?
Yes, I did check it.
And I guess you did not check it alone. You also checked it with some of your colleagues, including the lawyers that you mentioned during your testimony. Is that correct?
Did he mention lawyers?
Yeah, one advocate.
Okay.
Yes.
No, the way you are putting it, the lawyers that you mentioned.
All right, the lawyer that you mentioned during your engagement. So, sorry, my lord, that is correct, indeed. Advocate van der Merwe.
I can recall only look at it with Mr. Oliphant and Mr. Kulute.
Okay, so the three of you considered it. And then you made a decision after that whatever is not contained in that cabinet action memo would therefore be unauthorized or unlawful government objectives. Is that correct?
That is not what we consider. As I have said, other government objectives, there should be other government objectives that the state will ask Fishrot to carry out, although they are not listed on this one.
Okay, but you have not brought any testimony to this court about those other ones. You have limited it to that, in your evidence in chief, you have only limited it to that cabinet action memo. Is that correct?
Because we are dealing with the application that was made to the cabinet, yes. That's why it was limited to these two.
Please listen to me. I'm not asking you for the reason for doing that. I'll ask you later on. I'm saying before this court, you did not refer the court to any other document containing other cabinet.
No, I did not.
Yes, you limited your testimony to those ones that are in there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's only on those ones set out in paragraph 1 that we must understand your case. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. A lot I see it's almost 1,300 hours. I'll move to another area now of my cross-examination now that we have clarified that aspect. May I ask that the matter stand down up until
2:15.
2:15, my lord. That's a please issue.
Mr. Kanyangela?
My lord.
The normal,
Yes, my lord.
you are under cross-examination. You
Yes,
may
my
not
lord.
discuss the matter with anybody.
Yes, my lord.
Right. Court will rise until 2:15.